6 brand new commercial aircraft have been built but can't reach airlines in 2026, blocked by certification delays, geopolitical sanctions, and in one case, literally 0 customers willing to buy it. What makes this situation unusual is that the global aviation market right now operates under severe supply constraints rather than weak demand. Airbus carries over 9,000 aircraft on backlog, representing more than 10 years of production, while Boeing holds nearly 7,000 orders waiting to be filled. When brand new jets sit on the tarmac going nowhere, the reason isn't that airlines don't want planes, but rather that something has gone catastrophically wrong. The most visible example tells that story best. The Boeing 777-9, $15 billion, in the parking lot at Payne Field in Everett, Washington, roughly 21 Boeing 777-9 aircraft sit parked nose to tail on a runway, their white fuselages gleaming and brand new, with large concrete blocks hanging from the wings where engines should be. Years have passed with these planes sitting exactly like this. Boeing started building 777X aircraft back in 2018, even though the design wasn't fully locked down yet, thinking they'd capture valuable manufacturing insights early in the process. What they captured instead turned into a logistics nightmare that's still unfolding. Boeing's earnings call in April 2026 brought an admission from CEO Kelly Ortberg that approximately 30 early production 777X jets will require modifications before customers can take delivery, which means 30 planes need to be torn apart and rebuilt. The 777-9 was supposed to enter service in 2020, then the date slipped to 2022, then 2023, then 2025, then 2026, and the current estimate points to 2027, making it 7 years late. Boeing took a $4.9 billion charge on this program, and when you add up all the cost overruns, Reuters reported the total has reached roughly $15 billion. The problems extend beyond Boeing's factory floor. General Electric discovered a durability issue with the GE9X engines that power this aircraft in January 2026, a problem with something called the mid-seal, and while GE identified the root cause and started ramping up production of redesigned parts, it added yet another delay on top of years of setbacks. Here's what makes the situation even stranger. Airlines actually want this plane. The 777X has 473 orders on the books, with 84 new orders coming in during 2025 alone, and Lufthansa still waits to become the launch customer. This isn't a case of nobody wanting the aircraft, but rather nobody being able to have it yet, making these the most expensive white elephants in aviation history, sitting in the Pacific Northwest waiting for engines and fixes that should have been completed years ago. The Embraer E175-E2, the plane actually nobody wants. The only aircraft on this list that genuinely deserves the phrase "nobody wants it" is the Embraer E175-E2, which has 0 firm orders. Not a handful, not a waiting list, but literally 0. Embraer's board approved a 4-year freeze on the program on February 26, 2025, pushing the earliest possible service entry to 2029, which represents about 8 years later than originally planned. The answer to what went wrong lies buried in US pilot union contracts, in something called scope clauses. American, Delta, and United all maintain agreements with their pilot unions that cap regional jets at 76 seats and 86,000 pounds maximum takeoff weight, a rule designed to protect mainline pilot jobs by preventing airlines from replacing big jets with too many small ones. The E175-E2 weighs about 98,000 pounds, and those 12,000 extra pounds come from its more efficient Pratt & Whitney engines, the very engines that were supposed to make it more attractive to airlines, but that efficiency becomes meaningless when the plane is contractually banned from US service. Arjan Meijer, the CEO of Embraer Commercial Aviation, essentially admitted defeat at Embraer's Investor Day in November 2024 when he said the performance gap between the old E175 and the new E175-E2 is too small to motivate the hassle of renegotiating pilot contracts, which translated means it's not worth the fight. Embraer built a more efficient regional jet that US airlines, the biggest market for regional jets on Earth, legally cannot operate, and rather than sit on unsold inventory accumulating storage costs, they simply stopped building it. The Boeing 737 MAX 7. When your launch customer walks away. Southwest Airlines holds 234 orders for the Boeing 737 MAX 7 and was supposed to be the launch customer, but in January 2024, Southwest removed the MAX 7 from its future fleet plans entirely and accelerated orders for the MAX 8 instead, which is the aviation equivalent of a bride leaving at the altar. The MAX 7 still wasn't certified by the FAA as of late 2025, with Boeing pushing the certification date into 2026. But even after completing a major engine anti-ice redesign, airlines aren't lining up. Boeing's own guidance suggests the first MAX 7 delivery will likely go to a Boeing business jet customer for private jet conversion, not a commercial airline. And WestJet, which had 22 MAX 7s on order, also converted those orders to MAX 8s. The uncomfortable question becomes this: when the manufacturer builds a plane and the launch customer doesn't want it anymore, does it remain a commercial product, or has it become just an expensive proof of concept sitting in a hangar? The Boeing 737 MAX 10, 1,400 orders, 0 deliveries. The MAX 10 tells a different story because this plane has over 1,400 orders, with airlines actively wanting it, including Ryanair's order for 150 firm plus 150 options placed in 2023, and both Delta and United waiting as customers. But in 2026, not a single MAX 10 has been delivered. FAA certification still hasn't come through, though Boeing received something called Type Inspection Authorization 2 in early 2026 and expects first deliveries in 2027, making it 10 years after the program launched in 2017 and 7 years after it was supposed to enter service. Even the waiting customers show signs of nervousness, with United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby mentioning in a January 2024 interview that United was developing fleet plans that didn't include the MAX 10, which isn't quite a cancellation but hardly represents confidence either. Unlike the 777-9, Boeing isn't building up stockpiles of MAX 10s waiting for certification, since they're only producing the MAX 8 and MAX 9 right now, which means dozens of MAX 10s aren't physically sitting on ramps, but that reality makes it worse in a sense. It's a plane with 1,400 orders that exists only on paper and in certification limbo. The COMAC C919, waiting for engines that may never come. China's COMAC C919 was supposed to become the homegrown competitor to the Boeing 737 and Airbus A320, with a 2025 plan calling for 75 aircraft deliveries, but that target got cut to around 25. The first 4 months of 2026 saw COMAC deliver just 5 aircraft, 0 in January, 1 in February, 2 in March, 2 in April. Industry analysts report that completed C919 aircraft sit on the tarmac in Shanghai waiting for engines, and the plane uses CFM International LEAP 1C engines, which are made by a US-French joint venture whose deliveries have been disrupted since 2024 by US export licensing restrictions. China is developing its own domestic engine called the CJ1000A, but mass production isn't expected until around 2030, which leaves COMAC stuck in a position where they can build the airframe but can't reliably get the engines to make it fly. Certification problems compound the engine shortage because the C919 only holds approval from China's aviation authority, the CAAC, and in spring 2025, the head of Europe's aviation safety agency told media that full European validation could take 3 to 6 more years, while COMAC isn't even pursuing FAA certification in the United States. The result is that the C919 has over 300 orders, almost all from Chinese state-owned airlines, but it can't be sold internationally and can't be built fast enough domestically, making it wanted in theory but stranded in practice. The Yakovlev MC-21, Russia's overweight, sanctions stranded hope. Russia's Yakovlev MC-21 was supposed to become the country's flagship narrow-body airliner to compete with Boeing and Airbus. But after Western sanctions hit in 2022, Russia ripped out all the foreign-made components and replaced them with domestically produced parts in what they called the MC-21-310, the import-substituted version. That substitution came with a steep cost when the plane gained 5.75 tons of weight. A 2024 report from the Russian newspaper COMAC revealed that the weight gain reduced the MC-21's range to under 2,000 kilometers and its service ceiling to just 23,000 feet, well below the original specifications. And to compensate, engine thrust would need to increase by roughly 20%, which industry analysts describe as infeasible for commercial operations. The Russian engines themselves, Aviadvigatel PD-14S, reportedly cost about $17.6 million each, roughly double what the Pratt & Whitney engines they replaced would have cost. Aeroflot, the launch customer, originally signed an agreement in 2022 for 210 MC-21s, but by February 2026, Aeroflot's CEO stated the airline now holds firm orders for just 18 aircraft. Not a single MC-21 has been delivered to a paying airline as of mid-2026, and while Russia flew the first all-Russian content version in April 2025, certification testing isn't expected to complete until late 2026, with deliveries maybe coming by year-end, and because of sanctions, exports are essentially impossible, making this a jet that can't leave Russia and that Russian airlines barely want. 6 aircraft face 6 very different reasons for being stuck. The Boeing 777-9 and 737 MAX 10 are wanted by airlines but blocked by certification and technical problems, while the 737 MAX 7 lost its launch customer and searches for relevance. The COMAC C919 can't get engines, the Yakovlev MC-21 became overweight and sanctioned into irrelevance, and the Embraer E175-E2 stands as the only one that's genuinely unwanted, killed by a contract clause that makes it illegal for its target customers to operate. What's remarkable about all this is that in a normal market, these problems would spell disaster for the manufacturers. But in 2026, the aviation industry operates under such severe supply constraints that even these issues barely slow down the duopoly, with Airbus and Boeing still carrying 10 years of backlog each, while airlines remain desperate for planes. The manufacturers just can't build them fast enough, or, in some cases, can't finish the ones they've already built. These 6 aircraft are the exceptions that prove the rule. When the industry wants planes this badly, the only way to end up unsold on the ramp is to be uncertified, overweight, under-engined, or contractually banned from existence. And that's the state of commercial aviation in 2026.